Hi there everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to my channel, Shrinking Jen. I wanted to really talk about something that I feel is extraordinarily important, and I hope that you actually do watch this video to the end, because I really am going to share a lot of information, and it's all going to be sort of actually off the top of my head, but there's so much happening in our world right now. I think that it's really important to hear that we need to take a little bit of responsibility and preparedness so that we can take care of our families if things go sideways, or if costs basically explode and there's hyperinflation. So right now, there's definitely the risk of our food costs like going off the charts. A lot of the foods that I'm seeing in the grocery store are tripling in price. The cost of gas is increasing. My family in particular, we've had two situations where we were actually not able to leave our house. One, we were evacuated for 2 full weeks due to a fire. And then last winter, we actually had trees and wires come down that blocked our road, so we could not leave on 3 different occasions just from the winter storms. So there is the responsibility of making sure that you are prepared for yourself as a weight loss surgery patient, or someone who's just trying to be conscious of their food intake and maybe preparing for surgery. And you might also have a family to take care of. And so there's not a lot of talk in the mainstream media about what we can do as individual people to prepare for these scary things that they kind of hint about on mainstream media. And that the fact is there are still ways for us to shop well, to prepare well, without breaking the budget, without going broke, where if just a few little tips and ideas could really make a huge difference to make you feel that you can handle any situation, whether it's a weather situation, maybe you have a power outage and you can't leave the house, or or like us, where you've got trees down, or you've got a flood, or there's been an earthquake or fires. There's a lot of that happens in our local communities that could affect us. There's also, I don't live in an area that has snow, but I know a lot of you guys do. You might get snowed in. Like, how do you prepare? And I know a lot of you probably already do this, but I just want to kind of share some of my experience. And like I said, I hope you watch this whole video, because this is going to be really speaking from my heart to you guys, that I feel like it's so important to have that peace of mind that no matter what happens, at least in the short term, that you can provide for yourself and your family, maybe like your kids, and maybe even be able to help out neighbors if there's like some sort of catastrophe that happens. And we live in a very volatile world. I mean, there are very huge protests, and there was rioting. There there's the potential for war. I mean, we don't know how that is going to affect all of us. And I don't want to have you guys scared and oh my God, like freaking out or anything. It's just taking a minute to kind of look at what you have already and say, how can you build upon that so that you could maybe be in your house for a couple of weeks without having to leave your house, and be able to sustain your family's comfort level and their nutrition and your special nutrition as a weight loss surgery patient or someone preparing for surgery. Because we do have to take different things into account. We are not able to eat some of the foods that our family can eat. We cannot we don't always have the luxury, depending on what phase you are after surgery. If you just had surgery, your diet is very, very limited. Whereas I am 6 years post-op from having VSG and then revision to gastric bypass, where my diet is actually very, very open. I can actually eat like kind of whatever I would like in moderation. Everything is going to be in moderation, because no matter what happens, our stomachs are still itty bitty. So we have to take that into account. But I want to kind of just go through not only some tips, but also I want to show you some of the things that I tend to gravitate towards, because I definitely, when I look, I'm standing here in a different part of my house. This is what we kind of call our extra room, because my husband has all of his workout equipment in here, but I have all of my preparedness items. And now my preparedness items don't only include food, but I have backup medications, I have extra cleaning supplies, I have a lot of things like paper towels, toilet paper, a lot of meds, and a very large kit for if there was any sort of medical emergency. And I store a lot of water. These are the things that you have to think about. Now, for most of us, when the power goes out, most of us still have some septic, or some ability to like flush the toilet. But for some of us, if the power goes out, that means the electrical system goes out, and that pump that was pumping the water to go to the sink no longer works. It means that that water is not going to go into the toilet. So we have to think about that. I mean, little things like that that affect some people and don't affect everybody. So you kind of need to look at your own situation and think of what do you need to do if there was a power outage for an extended period of time. There is a thing called a EMP that is like kind of, if you've never heard of it, it's, what is it, electronic something pulse. And there's also a CME where it could be like a solar flare could cause disruption to electrical systems. But when we think about the risk level that we have in our country, grid down, if you've ever heard the expression grid down situation, that's what they're kind of talking about. If there was an EMP that caused a large area to lose power, it could take a long time to get that restored. And depending on how severe it was, I mean, my goodness, I guess it could be for a very long period of time that it could take before if it was restored, and how widespread it was. So when you're thinking about your family, do you have little babies? Do you have daughters that might have their periods? Do you need to stock up maybe on some pads? I mean, do you need extra diapers, formula? You think about those things as well. So if you can kind of think about it even extended more than just a few days, but like, let's just say, could you survive for a month inside of your house without leaving your house? Say all of your family was at home and you couldn't leave your house for 1 month. God forbid, and that's kind of like an extreme scenario, but thinking about looking in your cabinets, how would you do if you had to be home for a month, if you couldn't leave your house for a month? So thinking about all the different things that you would need. But as a weight loss surgery patient, one of the things that we need to do is we need to focus, of course, on the big P, protein. Now, protein, comes in different sources. And like I said, depending on what level of post-op you are, or if you're pre-op, if you're in a really severe situation, my personal take on it would be freaking screw the diet, your survival, your comfort. You need to take care of you, and you being on a diet is the last thing you want to be stressing about if you're in a really scary situation. So do what you got to do. Eat what you have. Eat like don't be worrying about counting calories or doing this or doing that if you're in a really severe situation. But one thing that I do is I stockpile and store a lot of canned meats. One thing to understand is the expiration or the sell by date on canned goods is bunk. Please understand that is not a date that you need to actually be concerned about. Expiration dates are for a manufacturer's basically requirement to say that is like the peak nutrition value of that item. However, that item is still completely edible, still has nutrition, but they cannot guarantee that it will be exactly as printed on the nutrition label. That is why you can have canned goods. Some of them could just last, and I'm not even exaggerating, forever. There are some that you might want to be a little more cautious about. Like, for instance, here's an example. I actually store Spam. Now, I know this is very salty. There's a lot of preservatives, but like I said, in a bad situation, we're not going to be worrying so much about the preservatives. We're going to be thinking about being safe and well and fed. Cans, things with a pop top have a little bit less security than a regular item. If they're untouched, if they're left alone, they're fine. I mean, there should be no problem. But if you had, say, a can that was just a regular can, here's just like a can of Bush's chili beans. Just knowing that this has a lighter seal, if this got dropped or bumped, this might have you want to be a little more cautious, you know, something with a pop top. But it's not to say you shouldn't buy things with a pop top. It's just, you just got to be a little more careful. Now, the things you're going to be looking for to know, like, is this a good item to eat? Is it safe? Because botulism is a real thing that you definitely do not want. And especially if we're in a situation where you're not able, say you're snowed in, the last thing that you want is to risk botulism. You're looking for pressure in the can. Has the can expanded at all? When you open the top, does anything fly out? If there's like a burst of pressure, you need to throw that can in the garbage. Don't even think twice about it. It's not worth your health. You want to smell it. Does it have a rancid smell? Now, if it smells like can, that's not actually bad. You could still eat it, even if it tastes like the can a little bit. Because say you eat, you know, a thing of SpaghettiOs as 5 years old. We've all, I think most of us have as children eaten maybe some SpaghettiOs, and I don't know why SpaghettiOs especially. I that's what my memory is. SpaghettiOs often has that aluminum like canny taste for some reason. I don't know what it is about SpaghettiOs. Maybe the acidity of the pasta, or I don't know. Anyway, if you have that's just an icky taste. There's nothing to worry about. What you're looking for is the pressure of botulism. Botulism grows and it creates air and pressure. So if you have any, like I said, you're really looking at the can. Look at when you open a can, look at the bottom part of the can. Is there any discoloration? Is there anything black on the bottom of the can when you open the lid of the can? Garbage. Like, don't even risk it. But if you say, okay, here's a can of chicken, and you open it and the expiration was 3 years ago, it smells fine, it looks fine, then it really is fine. And I know that it's been ingrained in our brains, expiration dates, gotta throw it out. This is not something that you really want to do, and you don't want to be wasteful of food. So please just know you can keep your canned goods. Feel free to stockpile as many as you want. If you have a favorite food, when you go to the grocery store, look for sales. Look for the meats. So let me show you a few of the things that I tend to stockpile a lot of as a weight loss surgery patient that I'm feeding myself and also feeding my family, so that I can make different kinds of meals, or make a certain kind of meal where I eat one portion of it and my family eats a different portion of it. Like, for instance, pasta dishes. My family might have more pasta, or I'll have a very small portion of pasta. I'm going to be eating more of the chicken, and my family, they're going more for the higher carb options, because I do try to limit my carbs to a level where I'm currently not doing specifically like a low carb diet. However, I do monitor my carbs because I do have effects from having weight loss surgery. I cannot intake a great deal. I have reactive hypoglycemia. I've actually had 2 episodes of it just this week because it was my daughter's birthday, and I did cheat a little bit and eat a little bit too many carbs at one time without having the balance of any protein. And so I actually had a very small serving of macaroni salad mixed in with a little serving of baked beans and a very small piece of carrot cake. Now, if you saw how small these portions were, I mean, I would say maybe total for the mac salad and the baked beans was probably 3/4 of a cup, and then the piece of cake was like this little itty bitty piece of cake. And I literally ate that and was passed out for an hour and a half after, because of having reactive hypoglycemia episode, and just literally passing out in early evening. So it was like, so I just literally cannot eat a lot of carbs. So let me show you. So these are some things that you could actually buy just from Costco that are a great option. Now, these prices have gone up significantly. You can buy just a container of chicken breasts. Now, you don't have to buy this from Costco. I wish I could remember how much this was. I want to say it was like in the $15-ish range. Hopefully, I'm not way off with that. But that is a great option. You can make an easy chicken Alfredo. You could just get, you know, little cans of chicken Alfredo and just have it all stocked up. Chicken Alfredo is one of the easiest dishes to make. All you really need to do is, if you have, add some garlic, add some salt and pepper. Well, maybe not add salt, but add pepper, add some Parmesan or some grated hard cheese, and it's delicious. Add some cream, make it like a little extra creamy. Add either your fettuccine or your spaghetti noodles, and it's fantastic. You just eat, as weight loss surgery patient, you just eat a little bit less. This does have, let's see here, 3 grams of carbs for this. And then you're adding chicken. So it's like, you kind of see where I'm going, where stockpiling items that you know that you can make multiple meals out of, that's sort of the way to go. This you could get Safeway. Look, like, don't buy it when it's retail. Only buy food on sale, and not if it's a bad sale. Wait for a good sale and then just buy a couple extra. Even if you just buy 5 extra cans like every week, it's gonna add up. Now, right now, you might want to go a little faster because you kind of have to do some catch up on this. Now, there's also, you know, you don't have to go to Costco. I mean, you could just buy the regular chicken, like, just off the shelf. These are like $4, you know, each though. They're not cheap, but when you need it, you're gonna need it. So if you find a good sale, I do have quite a bit of Spam, because this can be cut up. It could be put in, we have chickens, so we will always have our eggs. And so this could be cut up and put into a small scramble. Now, the problem with these products is they have a lot of salt. So if you are exceptionally sensitive to salt, if you have very high blood pressure, you're not going to want to eat a lot of something like this. Doesn't mean you can't eat any of it. You just want to be careful with your portions. But this is something you could have some for yourself and a bigger portion for your family. So it's kind of dual purpose. So that's kind of what you're thinking about. You could also even buy, this is something I got from Walmart. You can get like roast beef in a can. Did you know that you could buy roast beef like in a can? And so you could be making pasta dishes. You could be putting it just, you know, with a little bit of mayonnaise and just making like a little spread, like a little something. Of course, the staple item of all is going to be your tuna salad. You know, you want to keep some stockpile of mayonnaise. Now, mayonnaise, you know, it does not keep for long periods of time on the shelf. Really, I would say what I've learned over the years of doing this is it really only goes up to maybe a year past its sell-by date, and then you're probably going to have to test it out. See, has it gone rancid? Is it still good? And then it really depends on the temperature. It's much better to store all of your goods in a lower temperature environment. If it's in a high temperature environment, like your garage, and your garage gets to like 120 degrees, like in the heat of the summer, your food's not going to last as long. If it's in the basement where it stays nice and cool, it actually will stay good for longer. I also would recommend having a lot of beans on it, canned beans. And if you know how to do your own beans, you know, buying dry beans is a good idea to kind of stockpile. However, it takes a long time to actually prepare beans, and it takes some attention, and it takes water. So if you have the ability to maybe stock up on some different kinds of beans, I personally really like the chili beans, because the chili beans are multiple beans put together. They've already got a lot of flavor. Now, we also have, there's chili and there's chili beans. For instance, we have like right here, this is actually one of my favorite chilies, just Hormel chicken chili, because it has the meat in it, it has everything good in it. Now, this does have let's see the carbs. This is actually pretty high carb, 36 grams of carbs. This has a lot of carbs, but it does have 16 grams of protein. So it's kind of finding like that balance. Now, one thing I want to talk about is a lot of people think that everyone that does stockpiling is going to have like the beans and rice diet. Now, when you're in a stressful situation, the last thing you really want to do is sit there and cook, rice. What I would personally suggest, now this will not have as long as a lifespan, are things like minute rices. Now, I personally really like this one, the rice and quinoa minute rice. You can make it in just a few minutes with a small amount of water. I also have a lot of just white rice. My family loves it. Something else to think about is your seasonings. You want to have a lot of salt is so important. So salt and pepper and all of like your garlic, your onion, your parsley. Like right here, I have a lot of like Italian seasoning. I'm like looking at my stockpile right now, and it's amazing how large of a quantity of seasonings I do have just to flavor like the foods. One other thing that I personally stockpile a lot of, because I go through it so much personally, two things. And I can't reach it. It's actually too high for me to reach. Would have to get a step stool, which I don't have access to right now. Is I keep a lot of my collagen powder, many extra containers of it, because it has gotten so outrageously expensive. So when you see a product that you use on a regular basis, buy it. Stock up. You also want to consider if you're into depending on what phase you are in the weight loss surgery process. If your family drinks coffee, you want to maybe stock up on even if you don't use it right now, maybe some powdered creamer, because like say the power's out and you have to toss your half and half from the fridge, you want to have something, you want to have some of that things that make you kind of comfort foods. And so like for my family, that would be a very big comfort food. I also have some like Maxwell House, the international coffees. My family kind of likes those. And then with that, and then you just need water, you need some way to heat it. And hopefully you have a gas stove, gas stoves, you gotta love gas stoves. If you don't have a gas stove, you get a little rocket stove from Walmart for $20, and then you buy the little butane canisters to be able to use that rocket stove. And rocket stove, that's not the correct term. A rocket stove is actually a different product. I tend to keep calling it a rocket stove. I just mean like a portable, almost like it would be called like a camping stove, like a single burner camping stove. I wouldn't pay over 20 bucks. Even right now, retail 20 bucks is all you need, but you need to have a small supply, especially if you have an electric stove. Hopefully you have a wood burning stove that you could, create heat like for your family and stuff, and have some extra firewood. So something else that I really use a lot of is I go through a lot of protein shakes. That is a primary thing in my diet, because I have the issue with some food anxiety, where I get easily overwhelmed with food choices if I need to, if I get like overly hungry, or if it's just me and I don't have anybody to cook for, I kind of get like this almost like this decision paralysis, where I have a hard time choosing food. So I keep a lot of protein shakes. Like I'm looking here and I probably have, and this is a little guilty thing of mine, probably 20 cases of Atkins shakes, of all different flavors of Atkins shakes. So that's very, very important. I also have, for me personally, I do my collagen cocoa that I've talked about in other videos, where I mix my chocolate collagen powder. My Sports Research brand is my personal favorite, with the water, as if I'm going to have a coffee. But then what I'll do is I will mix something, like this. Now these, so I'll mix some sort of flavoring, to it. These I personally buy these at Marshall's, and like this one was like $7.99. Oh, actually this one I got at TJ Maxx when I was visiting my mother in Placerville. So I keep a lot of these on hand, but I think you're kind of getting the idea that you need to look at your diet presently. What foods do you feed your family on a regular basis? I have a lot, and I actually have more stockpile in other spaces. And so we go through a lot of soup. Soup has become outrageously expensive. So soup, like for instance, Progresso. Now it also depends what stores you have. I saw Walmart has a decent price soup. My Safeway is $5 a can for Progresso. I live in California, a very high priced, area. So $5. So I waited. So thankfully, like a year ago, there was this great sale for 97 cents. I stocked up a ton. Even went back to the store multiple times, to stock up on the good deal. Last week they had a sale where their Progresso soups at Safeway, I think it was it $1.47, but there was only a max of 5. So I just kept going back and just getting multiple orders of 5, so that I got 15 more cans of soup just to have, because do you want to pay $5 a can of soup, or do you want to pay $1.47? So that's my point. You want to look for the items that you know that your family's going to eat and stock up. Just buy extra. If your family loves SpaghettiOs, wait for the sale, buy the SpaghettiOs. I have a lot of SpaghettiOs. That's why I mention it. My husband's sick food is SpaghettiOs and meatballs. A lot of us do have like that special food that is so bad, but it just brings back all of like the good feeling memories. I also have things like regular rice. I do have things like the dry beans, lentils, enchilada sauces, so that I can make like the other day I made like a low carb enchilada with low carb tortillas, cheese, some enchilada sauces, very low carb. I mean, the whole dish, each serving was probably 5 or 6 carbs, and it tasted wonderful. So it's really finding your balance, finding a space, that you can maybe tuck away some extra food under the beds, under the behind the couch, like in an extra cabinet. It's preparing so that you're not having to be worried or scared. And there's a lot of peace of mind, in my personal opinion, about food security, and knowing that if something goes sideways, whether it's the weather, whether it's a power outage, it could be a tree falling on your private lines that only your one house, which is what happened to us last winter. Our this tree fell, the branch hit our line, so only our line was out. So our house was out for 3 days because they actually had to come in and actually repair and replace the entire line. It ended up being from my house to the pole and up the road, because the branch, because I actually have like a ravine in front of my house, and so it actually fell and it took out like the whole thing. But it was only my house that was affected, which was crazy. We do have a generator, because you can keep your refrigerator cold for only a very short time. I want to say it's actually only like 2 or 3 days. Now, what I recommend, now if you've made it this long to the video, what I recommend is taking bottles of water, putting them in the freezer. As soon as you have a power outage, take those bottles of water that are frozen, immediately put it into your fridge, and do not open your fridge unless you know exactly what you're going to get and where it is in your fridge, and do one quick open the door, grab it, close it as fast as possible. Now, your freezer can last quite a bit longer, but still, if you cannot keep the power to your fridge, you have to really monitor for food. Food safety is #1 priority. If there's any sort of concern, if it's been several days, I hate to say it, but that fridge is going to have to go. And if it's been, I would say, you can monitor, really try to keep that freezer, closed. And that's another thing to discuss is, that there's the ability to dehydrate foods. There's the ability to can foods. There's the ability to buy freeze-dried foods, like the number 10 cans of, I have quite a few of them up at the top, of different kinds of mixes and powders and potatoes and all these different things. Think about long-term storage. There are the emergency things like you've seen at Costco, Mountain House, I think is the brand that they have. Now that is Carb City. However, maybe having one or two tucked away under the stairs or something isn't necessarily a bad idea if you can get them for a decent deal. Just be very careful with your prices. You know, it's heartbreaking when you go to when you're stressed. You're like, oh my gosh, I gotta buy it right now. So you go on Amazon and you overbuy it, and then the next day you're shopping at Costco and you see it for half the price. And the way Amazon works is people like me, you and I, they go to a store, they see something on sale, say, okay, so we'll use this as a great example. Here's a can of baked beans I got from Rayleigh's, or not Nob Hill, I guess. It was on clearance for $1.15, but retail this would be like $3 for this brand of organic baked beans. Well, so someone like me or you buys this for $1, and then they send it to Amazon and sell it for $3. And so they only paid $1.15, and then they have to pay like their fees to Amazon, but then you as the consumer, you are paying the retail price. So almost everything that you see on Amazon, a lot of it is called retail arbitrage, where somebody has gone to a store and found it for cheap, and now they're going to sell it. They're going to basically sell it on Amazon to the rest of the world. So Amazon is not always going to be your best deal. You really want to price around. But if you're in a pinch, if you live somewhere far away where you can't get to a store, I actually would say that Walmart probably has like the best prices that I'm personally aware of, because I don't have a Walmart. And so when I do go to Walmart and when I'm visiting family, I definitely try to like stock up. Oh, something else. Coffees. I would really suggest if you have a coffee family to get some of the like the coffee like this. This is just Walmart brand. It's basically just instant coffee. They also have like the regular coffee. I have a lot of the decaf for myself when I'm wanting some, because I actually do like coffee, and I have to be very careful with my coffee, but I do like it. And I know this video is going on so long, so if you stayed this long, you know, bless you, you're amazing. But you know, and something else, like little things like powdered potatoes, dehydrated potatoes. These are just things to think about. What can you feed your family in a pinch? Like if something goes sideways for whatever reason. We live in an uncertain time. We live in a time that nobody in our life, that in our like generation, has really gone through. Well, you know what? I completely take that back. We have had people that are still living that have gone through the Depression, people that are still living that have gone through World War II, you know, Vietnam. These were times of war. When we had our war with Afghanistan, it's like it really didn't affect us in a way that I was aware of, because I was too young. I was only in high school during like that time period. And so when we had 9/11, that wasn't a period that I was aware of. We weren't doing some of the extreme things that can happen during wartime. And so I have not personally experienced that. But we don't know what the future lies for us. We don't know if our world is going to go into a wartime situation where we're waiting in line at the gas station to pay $20 a gallon, or if we're getting food vouchers that says that we can have 1 loaf of bread and 1 gallon of milk. We don't know what the future holds. And so if you've already got all of this food in your house, and all of a sudden we're being limited to what we're even able to buy, then you're going to be in a really good situation. And I don't want to go to that extreme. That's very extreme thinking, and it's not where my mind goes. That's not where I'm at. Where my preparation goes for is more of the living with a chronic condition that limits my ability to get to a grocery store on a regular basis. So if I need to make a quick dinner, I could just come downstairs and I could just grab food off the shelf and be able to throw together a meal for my family. If we're stuck and, you know, we can't get out, when we have power outages, I have food it's called shelf stable food. That's what you're looking for. And of course, you know, you can get frozen foods too, but just know that if power goes out, you could possibly lose that food. So I'm going to end there. I hope that that was helpful. I hope I added some information or just something to kind of just think about. And for those who are already prepping and or preparing for some sort of emergency, you know, good for you. And just keep going. And like I said, just look for the sales. Just watch for, because the sales are still there to be had. I recommend the channel called Living on a Dime to Grow Rich. Great channel, great information, highly recommended. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you have a wonderful day and come back for my next video. Please subscribe and like this video, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.